Okay, so the next concept that we're going to talk about are the 5 competency steps. So these are the steps that we unconsciously do when we do communication. And these are the proper steps to do it. Okay, so the first one is analyze the situation. Whenever you are in a communication situation, you have to first analyze the context or what is happening. What is the context of this communication? There are instances that you communicate and then you have the same message or you talk about the same topic but in a different context and you're talking about it with a different person. So there can be a lot of difference in the situation. So you analyze the situation first. Then you choose a way to deal with it. Then you act on that choice. Then you evaluate the results. What do you mean by evaluate the results? Maybe this has something to do with feedback, okay? When you communicate, there might be a given feedback by the person you're talking to. So you have to evaluate that feedback. Is that a good feedback or a bad feedback? What does that implicate? What does that what is the possible result of that? Or what does that what's the effect of that to you? So you evaluate the results, and lastly, whatever result that is, you cope with it. Okay? You're able to cope with many situations. So those are the 5 competency steps. First, analyze the situation, followed by choose a way to deal with it, act on that choice, and lastly, evaluate the results, and lastly, able to cope with many situations. Okay, so next, what are the types of communication? Okay, so there are 4 types of communication, namely group communication, interpersonal communication, public communication, and interpretive communication. Okay, so let's start with group communication. So this is very familiar, I think, with you. Group communication is done with not one, not two, but many people. Okay, communicating with not just one person. And this usually happens for jobs, for when you talk in school together with your classmates. That's group communication. Talking to others. Okay, next, interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication, on the other hand, is a type of communication wherein you talk with other person. Pero, dili na siya kinahanglan daghan. Usara ka buok. You talk to someone, of just one person. That's already considered as interpersonal communication. Okay? Then, followed by public communication. Okay, Miss, what is the difference between group communication and public communication? Well, let's start first with the similarity. Both of them deals with a lot of people. You have to talk to more than just 2 people when you do public or group communication. The difference is when you do group communication, it's a two-way process. And when you do public communication, it's a one-way process. Miss, what does that mean? Okay. So when you say you're talking to, it's a two-way process, that means there should be a feedback. Feedback is really needed. When you do group communication, you talk to each other because you plan things, and you have to agree with you have to agree with something. Okay, so you do communication and you plan things and you agree with something. So that means you contribute a specific idea, and the other person or the people you're talking to contribute an idea as well. So the communication there becomes a two-way process, all of you sharing. Okay, while in public communication, the speaking is dominated by the speaker, and usually your responses are not needed. Maybe, okay, there are responses nga kanang nodding of the head and smiling and laughing while the speaker is speaking, but usually the most important message is coming from the speaker alone. Okay, and all of you, you're not expected to respond or to share your idea if you don't want to. That's why in this type of communication, most of the receivers are quiet and passive. Okay? Next, interpretive communication. Oh, I don't think this one is familiar. No, okay. So interpretive communication is can be interchanged with in interpersonal communication too. Okay? What do you mean by interpersonal? So this is the type of communication you use to speak to yourself. Okay? So this is the type of communication that you use to speak to yourself as well. Okay? So interpretive, when you try to talk to yourself, you receive a message, then you talk to yourself. For example, you're reading a book or you're watching a movie. You talk to yourself and you try to answer the questions on your own or interpret the message on your own. So that's intra-personal communication or interpretive communication. Sorry. Okay, next. What are the five nonverbal skills of a competent communicator? Hmm. Unsa daw ang mga five nonverbal skills? I think you are very much familiar with this already. So first, gesture. Imong kamot. When you say, what does that mean? Even if you do not speak, there is an implied meaning when you do this to someone that is talking. That means, stop. I don't want to listen. So that is gesture, and that is already communication. When you nod your head or you shake your head, those are gestures already. So those are nonverbal communications. Another, poise. Okay. The way you carry yourself on stage or the way you carry yourself when you talk to someone also sends a message. Usually, when you are a speaker, you are expected to dominate the stage, and um, you have to have this image that I know everything. I don't know if you get me, but yeah, that's like that. So poise is very, very important when you speak to someone, because poise might your the wrong poise might give the wrong message. Okay. Next is number 5. Eye contact. Sorry, this is a typo. I mean eye contact. So, eye contact is when you look at someone's eyes. I don't know about you, but when I speak to someone, I like looking at their eyes. In the business world, it actually means you respect someone. If you do not look a person in the eye, that means kanang maybe you have done something wrong or you're guilty of something. I don't know if you're aware, but when you talk to uh, in instances where a criminal talks to an NBI or investigator, actually they gauge if you can look, they can look you in the eye, or you can look them in the eye to gauge if you're telling the truth. Hmm. So, if you want to give the impression that you are confident with what you're saying and that what you're saying is true, you have to look the person in the eye. Okay? In the business world too, that means um, your intentions are good, and that your intentions are good, and that you are sincere with what you're saying. Okay? Another, we have facial expressions. The smiling, the crinkling of your forehead is already a facial expression. And those are very important. Can you imagine someone talking to someone that has poker face, do not have expression on their face? Would communication be an effective communication if there's no facial expression? I don't think so. Even right now, I'm using facial expression. And I hope that you're learning and you're gauging my feelings on my facial expressions. Okay, next and last is body control. Okay, you cannot see it. Okay, there. Body control. So, body control and poise are somehow related. So, for example, there are instances that you do not notice, but you tend to cross your arms when you are in doubt of the message that was being sent to you. Kung you're doubting the speaker, you tend to cross your arms or you're being appalled. by the speaker, you cross your arms. Or do you see the picture in the second picture, the one that looks like the guy wants to be? That type of posture is telling me that the person is very shy, or that in a practical manner the person really wants to be. So your your body control is very, very important. That, and it's a very good nonverbal communication. Okay?